Another insane topic today from News Talk. What should Ireland spend the Apple tax money on? Today this one's going to be wild. For those who don't know, the EU basically has ordered Apple to give us like 13 or 15 billion, 13.5 billion, okay, in taxes after a ruling by the European Court of Justice. Basically the EU, okay, is forcing Apple and these big corporations to pay us money. Now, in some instances, it's bad. Some instances, it's good. The reason why we're talking about this one today, guys, is why it's bad is because we want to keep getting foreign investment, guys. Okay, for those who don't know, man, Ireland basically is this foreign investment hub. Now, if we start taxing massively these corporations, they'll just start pulling out their flipping people. And what happens when they start pulling out their businesses? There's going to be no money, guys. Okay, which might not be a bad thing for Ireland, really, for all these big, massive corporations to go home. But at the same time, we want to see some sort of like cooperation with outside companies, guys. We want to see foreign investment come in, guys. We want to see different companies investing in Ireland. You know, why is it such a big deal that we have a 12.5% tax break, okay, for these massive corporations, Starbucks, Apple, Google? They all have their headquarters here, just down the road. I'm in Dublin right now. They have their headquarters just down the road. For anybody watching in America or whatever, in Ireland, okay, because we have a tax break haven. It's more than, it's more than a flippin' quarter. It's basically a quarter of the normal tax bracket. So why do we give these tax brackets, guys? It's so we get this massive foreign investment. Now, we shouldn't be ruling any of these people to give us investment. They've already invested enough in us, guys. They literally, you know, hire basically a third of the population. For those who don't know, the biggest, you know, things, the biggest industries in Ireland are tourism. Boom, number one. Well, farming is number one. Tourism is like number three. Number two is like IT and tertiary sector or secondary sector work. You know, IT, working in these different sectors. So IT is huge, guys. And when we tax these massive companies and corporations, they don't want to come back to us, guys. So it's a complete travesty. Let's hear from what we're going to spend the money on, guys, because it seems ludicrous. Let's hear it, guys.
The Irish government is to accept that €13 billion in tax money from Apple. But what should it do with it? Obviously, there's the housing crisis and the health service. But
let's not overlook that, guys. I think we should put it all into housing.
What else could we get for that sort of money? How about a fancy bridge? Even an Irish space programme? Simon Tierney has been researching some of the more irresponsible options. Afternoon, Simon.
Afternoon, Sean.
Let's start with space. That's the cool one.
Yes, absolutely. When I was doing this research, it became clearer and clearer to me, Sean, that it's time for Ireland to ditch the ESA, the European Space Agency, and to go out on our own and to compete directly with the Chinese and the Americans in this area.
Okay, great. And so how would we go about doing that?
He's trying to be funny, but these guys are just the biggest nerds known to mankind, so they just look lame.
Okay, so what I've tried to do to help listeners understand how achievable this is to break down the figures of, well, how much does it actually cost to send an astronaut to space? Now, or actually to the moon, to the lunar surface. Obviously, the last time this happened was over 50 years ago. 1972 was the last time any human landed on the moon. So
yeah, because it was fake and it was a setup, guys, and it didn't actually happen. Probably for the most part. I've heard reports that it's like all of a Hollywood stage, but who knows, guys? God knows. I don't really care if they went to the moon or not. Some people say we're wrapped in a filament that we can't leave the atmosphere or whatever, but who knows, guys? Who the hell knows?
There's a huge amount of inflation, as you can imagine. So between 1960 and 1973, NASA spent $28 billion developing the rockets, the spacecraft, the ground systems needed for the Apollo program. Now, if we put that in the inflation calculator, it comes to 260 billion in today's money.
Ooh.
But that's obviously a lot more than 13.8 billion, which we had land in our account today. But that's for the entire Apollo program. All I want to do is to send one Irishman to space.
Yes.
So
we already have an Irish woman. She works for NASA and now she's going to space. So we don't need to do that. Next, this is clownery and buffoonery.
Came in was that I called the Space Center and this is what happened.
Thank you for calling Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. All calls are recorded for quality assurance purposes. For directions and hours of operation, please press 1.
Now, I'm going to stop it there, Sean, because those options went on for a long time, and I had a limited amount of time to prepare for this.
I know. Did it include, press 7 if you want to launch your own rocket into space?
Eventually, I got to the information which pertained to us, and I'll read it out for our listeners so that they understand whether it's possible to rent the Kennedy Space Center or not. It says, whether it's a wedding, a birthday party, or other special event, Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex is the perfect place to make your memorable event unforgettable.
Bro, this guy can't even speak English properly. He has no hair and he can't speak English. Can we just continue to the part where they're talking about actually how to spend the money properly? We ain't going to space, guys. These guys may be on the moon. These guys are on the moon when it comes to what they're saying. But definitely we're not going to the moon, guys. Let's get that out of our stupid heads, guys.
Because presumably the astronaut might need to have a few qualifications.
We're still on the freaking moon.
Enough with hosting the Summer Olympics. And when I started to crunch the numbers and think about it more clearly, once the clouds of ambition cleared, I realised that what we should really be aiming for is hosting the Winter Olympics.
Bro, what's this clown talking about, bro? What is this guy? What are those? What is this guy talking about?
Really? Do we
Yeah.
have enough snow? Snowy mountains, even, for
So
that kind of thing?
the last Winter Olympics was in 2022 and it was hosted just outside Beijing in China. There was 0 real snow used in that.
Yes, that's
In
true.
fact, 100% of the snow used in the last Winter Olympics was artificial. Now, they spent $4 billion hosting that Olympics. Winter Olympics are generally much cheaper than a Summer Olympics. So what I'm thinking is that we could host it in Kerry, in the McGillicuddy Reeks. The alpine and slalom events would take place on Carrauntoohil because in the winter they have a bit of snow, a bit of frosting at the top anyway. All we would need to do is top it up. And then you're talking about $60 million is what the Chinese spent on snow machines at the Winter Olympics in 2022. Now, they also needed 49 million gallons of water to make that snow. Okay, so I'm thinking that we could drain the Shannon and use that to use that water as the surplus that we need for the snow machines, and we get rid of the River Shannon. We sacrifice the River Shannon.
I live in Galway. I love the River Shannon. What is this clown talking about, bro? This guy is absolute clown shoes, man. What's going on?
To host the Winter Olympics. I think it's a sacrifice that most people would be willing to make.
Okay, we could build a road on it or something anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or put up, a solar farm, or not a solar farm, but windmills.
Yeah, or
people love them.
Use the money that
Yo, this guy is trolling me right now, bro. This guy is trolling me right now, bro.
we've left over from hosting a cheaper Olympics to build a massive crossrail through the country.
Yeah, well, there we have that too. That might be a bit handy. That's almost as big. Are there kind of any sort of, whether it be Summer or Winter Olympics, or any sorts of sports facilities that we don't?
Why would they show a random chair? This is such a weird... News Talk is a horrendous news station, guys.
Don't have in the country that we'd need to build.
Yeah, so the velodrome is always the old chestnut here, Sean. There have been feasibility studies Castle to the Mull of Kintyre. It's 19 kilometres. 2021, there was a feasibility study done on this. Sean, the closest distance between the British mainland and Northern Ireland is Torhead, near Ballycastle, to the Mull of Kintyre. It's 19 kilometres.
Okay.
That's nothing.
Right?
I drove on a bridge in Canada that was 15 kilometres.
Now, the feasibility study said of Boris Johnson's quip that we could just throw up an L bridge there between the two countries and hope for the best. This was part of his Union Connectivity Review to bring the four nations of the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland together. They said that it would cost $335 billion if it was a bridge.
335 billion? Hardly.
And $209 billion if it was a tunnel.
Hardly.
Now, that's well over the $13 billion that we have to spend with this. But then I was thinking, wait now, the longest overwater bridge in the world is in China. The Chinese, they're always at these big projects.
They are.
Their longest bridge is 164 kilometres over the sea.
Crikey.
Ours is 19. Surely we can do it for
yeah.
cheaper. The problem is Beaufort's Dyke, Sean.
Okay.
Beaufort's Dyke is this deep crevice between the Mull of Kintyre and Northern Ireland. It's 300 metres deep, and during the 1970s, the British threw loads of munitions into it. So for lads to work on building a tunnel there, just too dangerous.
Yeah.
So I'm
okay.
going to write that one off.
Yeah. Though, I mean, there could be some other location where you can lob it over there. Be a bit longer, but get the Chinese to do it.
Maybe Cornwall to Wexford.
Yeah, something like that. So we could spend the money over. This is an interesting idea you've had now. We could spend the money overseas.
Yes.
On one of our embassies.
Yeah. So when I've done some research before for the Pat Kenny Show about this whole idea of global Ireland, and we're building all these so-called Ireland houses in capitals all over the world, where they kind of bring cultural Irish centres and diplomatic headquarters together into these kind of big centres for the Irish diaspora. But the problem is that some of the places around the world are actually rental properties. So I was thinking about our embassy in New Delhi. Now, the latest information that I could find about this, Sean, is that the building that we currently rent in New Delhi for our embassy and our ambassador costs €288,000, 271. Yeah, so almost €300,000 in rent per year. So my idea instead is
This guy couldn't talk any slower. My God, man.
to stop paying rent, because rent's just wasted money.
Yeah.
And instead we buy a gaff in India. So what I want us to do is I want us to buy a house off
Why do we need to get more Indian? Bro, what is going on? This is so stupid.
Mukesh Ambani. Mukesh Ambani, Sean, is the richest man in Asia. He's the 11th richest man in the world. He has a fortune of $167 billion, oil and gas. And he has a house, one of his houses is currently up for sale. It's the Attila Mansion. It's 27 stories, and it's on sale for between 1.5 and $2 billion, which currently makes...
He's selling a house for $2 billion, hardly. The biggest houses in America are they're like 50 million. What?
it the most expensive house in the world. Now,
Yeah, I was
the
going to say there's no house that's more expensive than that.
only problem is this. This is the only problem that I foresee.
Okay.
Okay, because it's mostly positives. The only problem is that it's in Mumbai. The capital of India, of course, is in New Delhi.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's class, and I think it would really be worth it just for that commute between.
Yeah.
This guy would be funny if he was like talking between the pub out in town one night. But on a news talk show is ridiculous.
Mumbai
It
and
would-
Delhi.
How long is that commute?
Like what? A few hours?
Ah, yeah, they're grand
Like,
then.
maybe
Yeah.
15 to 20 hours by road.
Yeah. But sure, it'd be worth it because you have something to look forward to when you come home.
Yeah, exactly. And the great thing is that it has an inbuilt 6-story car park, which is what every ambassador needs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For the fleet of cars.
Yeah, this was just a complete troll, bro. What else is there?
I have an idea. Would the billions build the biggest and widest runway in Europe at Dublin Airport with a few extra car spaces? Says Dan. You're just
Yeah, we need some more car space in Dublin Airport, my lord.
doing that to wind up the greens. That is some racket in the background of the Kennedy Space Centre. Sounds like a space rocket falling apart. Someone
Could also just give the money back to Apple, which we probably should do if we want foreign investment. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. That literally made me it actually made me lose brain cells. I can't even formulate sentences after that. I love you all. Stay free. News Talker Clowns. Peace.